What's up, guys? I hope you're all having a great day. And today I'm going to be starting a new series where I rank different types of films from 10 to 1. And today I'm starting it with my top 10 favorite films of all time. And I'm going to be going from 10 to 4. And then I'm going to have some honorable mentions. And then I'm going to go from 3 to 1. So let's get into it. Coming in at number 10 is Martin Scorsese's crime drama classic, The Departed. This film is about Jimmy Costigan, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who infiltrates the mob, goes undercover, tries to figure out the inner workings of this mob, and tries to eventually break them apart and find all the secrets. And you'll have to see this film to find out if he does it or not. And I have been told many times that I needed to see this film, and I was told it was like amazing, one of the greatest. And after seeing it, I can confirm that it indeed is one of those, considering that it is in my top 10 films of all time. And what really makes this film great is the acting and the all-star cast. This stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, and Mark Wahlberg. Which, as you can see, are all all-star actors, and they really sink into their performances, and that's what really makes this movie great for me, is all the performances and all the dialogue. It's not flat, it's really like vibrant and exciting, even though it is kind of a down and dreary crime thriller, which I think is interesting. But the storytelling in this movie is just amazing, because there's so many twists and turns throughout the movie. You never really know where it's going. So that's why I put this film at number 10 in my list. And I really recommend you seeing this one, especially if you like crime movies. So now, coming in at number 9 is Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. Now, this film took me a surprisingly large amount of time for me to see, considering I had all 3 films in my collection. But what was stopping me was the runtime of all 3 films, because it's something like 10 hours. This film clocking in at about 3 hours and 20 minutes. And I can definitely tell you that this film is definitely worth your watch. And every minute of this is just brilliant. This is one of the most epic movies I have ever seen. It's one of the best conclusions to a trilogy I've ever seen. This film is basically a 3-hour action scene, which who wouldn't want to watch that? So definitely go check this film out. At number 8, we have The Shawshank Redemption. And again, this is one of the movies that kind of took me a while to see, because I heard about this film from so many people saying that it was one of their favorites and it's really inspirational. So I decided to pick this one up and check it out, and all I can say is, wow. This is one of the most hopeful movies, but also being one of the most heartbreaking at the same time, which is one of these film's strengths, as well as his acting. It stars Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman, and it's the story of a man who was wrongfully accused of a crime, who now finds himself in prison and is trying to figure things out once he gets there and find a way out. And I know it kind of sounds like a simple story, but the emotion in it is just off the charts. And that is why this comes in at number 8 on my list. Coming in at number 7, we have Saving Private Ryan. This is one of my favorite war films of all time. It is one of my favorite Steven Spielberg movies of all time. This movie is just all around great movie. It has the huge epic scale that you'd want a war film to have, while also having a real personal story. And this team is tasked of going right into the heart of World War II to find a soldier who has lost both his brothers in war, and they have to take him home because they don't want that man's parents to lose all their kids in war. So as you can see, this is a very emotional story, and you can tell right from the opening scene that this is one of the saddest films you'll ever see, but I think a good film really tugs at your emotions. So this completely encompasses that, while also having good performances with Tom Hanks. You'll see more of him later, so definitely see this movie. Definitely. At number 6, we have Castaway. I told you you'd see Tom Hanks again. This film is directed by Robert Zemeckis. You'll see him again. And stars Tom Hanks, which is probably the best thing about this film, considering this is about a man who gets in a plane crash and is stuck on an island for a very long period of time and has to survive and try to find his way off the island with only having a friend volleyball. So, yeah. But his performance in this movie is one of the best acting performances I honestly have ever seen. And for that reason alone, you should check out this movie right now. Coming in at number 5, we have another Steven Spielberg movie, Jurassic Park. This is many people's favorite movie of all time. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, mainly because of when I saw it. I saw it really young, and it's really stuck with me throughout the years. And not only for nostalgic reasons, this is one of the greatest movies of all time. It really has everything in it that you could possibly want in a movie, I guess, because it has action, drama, and horror, seeing that there are dinosaurs in this movie. But arguably, this is one of the best Steven Spielberg films of all time. Maybe in front of Raiders of the Lost Ark, in some people's opinion, including mine. But this film also really launched special effects and CGI in the film industry with the dinosaur scene. If any of you have seen this movie, you probably have. But this film is just really important in all the films we have today, seeing as it was the beginning of all special effects. So, check this movie out. Coming in at number 4, we have Forrest Gump. Now, this is another Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks film, and honestly, this is just flat out one of the most inspirational movies you'll ever see. Honestly. Because for those of you who haven't seen this movie, it is about a man who isn't too smart, who basically experiences every major event of the last half of the 20th century. And I think it really symbolizes how, even though you may not be the most gifted or privileged person in the world, you can experience things in your life and learn different lessons that make you an overall better person. And I think Tom Hanks is the major star of this movie, who really sells his performance and makes Forrest Gump the icon that he is today. So check this movie out as well. Now for some honorable mentions. So first is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, this is probably the most hyped film of all time for myself personally, because Harry Potter, the books and the movies, were basically the first 8 years of my life, so this was probably the most hyped thing of my life. So seeing as it is an honorable mention, you can see what I thought about that movie. It is just so great. Another one is Reservoir Dogs. This is a Quentin Tarantino movie, I believe his first, and the main thing about this movie that stands out is the dialogue. Now, Quentin Tarantino today is known for his out there storytelling and great dialogue, and that partially started with this movie. So that is why this is on my honorable mentions. Lastly, we have Inception. Now, you'll be seeing another Christopher Nolan film later on my list, but this film just blew my mind when I saw it. So go check this one out. Leonardo DiCaprio is fantastic in it. Definitely go watch this. Coming in at number 3, we have Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Now, this, along with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, are my most anticipated movies of all time. Now, I know people were kind of looking to The Force Awakens to be their saving grace of the Star Wars franchise after the so-called terrible prequels, which I kind of did like, but going into this movie, hyped out of my mind, came out loving it, as you can see in my top 3, but this was a return to form for the Star Wars franchise. It had that nostalgia factor with Han Solo, Leia, and Luke, even though he's barely in the movie. But it also had the new characters brought in, which I thought were the strongest part of the film, and pretty much launched a new trilogy, which this year, The Last Jedi is now my most anticipated movie of the year, thanks to this movie. So go check out this movie if you haven't. Coming in at number 2, we have Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan, which you've already seen and will see soon, starring Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, and Michael Caine, which you'll see again. This is just one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. This movie blew my mind. Like, I'm speechless right now. I sat there at the end of the credits with my jaw down. Everything about this movie is just phenomenal. The acting, the directing, the storytelling. You can't get any better than this. Well, Christopher Nolan may be able to be better than this with his upcoming Dunkirk, which is my most anticipated of July. But, back to the point, see this movie if you want to be entertained and get your mind blown by 2 hours and 45 minutes of the best cinema you'll ever see. Check this movie out. For my number 1 favorite movie of all time, coming in at number 1 is The Dark Knight. Directed by Christopher Nolan once again, starring a plethora of amazing actors with Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Heath Ledger, Gary Oldman, Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Morgan Freeman. Is that not one of the best casts you've ever seen? And they're all at their A game, giving the best performances, and this is hands down the best Batman movie, the best comic book movie, the best superhero movie, and in my personal opinion, the best movie of all time. I know many of you probably have already seen this movie, may have similar opinions to me, but having seen this and watched this for many years, I think it's really stuck with me for the last 9 years. And having seen it as such a young kid, it was surprising to me that I actually really loved it now thinking back on it, because of how dark it was for a superhero movie especially. But this movie, every aspect of it is just great. It's every movie you could possibly want for a Batman movie and a movie. It's a crime, it's a drama, it's an action. And all those culminate into being one of the best movies for me that just fits my personal tastes. As I mentioned earlier, all the acting in this movie is Oscar worthy, especially seeing that Heath Ledger won a Best Actor Oscar for this, unfortunately after his death. Rest in peace. But that right there shows you that this is one of the best movies, best acted movies, best directed movies, as well as during the year this came out, the Oscars only had 5 Best Picture nominees, and following this Oscars in 2009, they bumped up the Best Pictures by almost double. So I'm sure that was due in part to this movie, which just shows you how much of a masterpiece this is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and make sure to comment what top 10 movies do you want me to do next. I'll see you guys in the next one.